from abroad to register the funding agencies, and how also to register to provide funding to organizations, which is for me a really worrying trend, not only, I must say, in Azerbaijan, but also in countries in the rest of the world. Funding being also curtailed as a result of a number of new legislative amendments to the law, and also travel bans from many human rights activists and staff from civil society organizations. You mentioned, Patricia, also the difficult problem of access to justice, with a lack of access to justice, impunity being the rule in the country. It's explained also because of the lack of independence of the judiciary in the country, and there is, in my report, a series of strong recommendations on how to move forward to have more independence. And to conclude, maybe there is a strong also commitment by many actors abroad, many civil society organizations that try to protect the defenders. But I must say that having also spoken with the embassies and your colleagues, ambassadors, I must say that they could do more to protect the defenders. In some occasions, you see that economic interest by countries when it comes to Azerbaijan also prevents some embassies to be more effective in the protection of defenders, and that's a topic that also we may also want to discuss. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you very much, Michel. Mina, if I could give you the floor at this point.
Thank you very much, and I'll be very brief. And first of all, let me thank the government of Azerbaijan for its consistent willingness to welcome special rapporteurs to visit Azerbaijan. We had agreement that I would go, but then there was a bit of confusion about dates, and eventually that didn't materialize. But I'm very glad that my colleague Michel actually did go and has done a fantastic report, as you've just heard. I think I just want to cover a few things at a very broad level, which I think are important. That is that, it's one thing to welcome rapporteurs to come into a country, which is a good sign, but I think it's important to go further than that then and start actually implementing international law and values when it comes to some of these issues around civil society, rights defenders, and openness in a society. And I think that is the challenge I hear and I see is as important now for Azerbaijan. It's to move beyond opening the doors for rapporteurs, but also now to open the doors for civil society and others. And I think the challenge that we are going through in Azerbaijan and other countries in the world is that challenge of tolerance and acceptance, and the fact that even if you disagree with a state, you should be given the chance to operate, you should be given the chance to do what you need to do. And I think that those are some of the issues that are of concern. The fact that in a sense, and given the law that was passed in 2009, that makes it essentially illegal to operate as a civil society organization in Azerbaijan without government approval, is one of the things that hurts the whole essence of democracy. And I think there's a need perhaps for the government of Azerbaijan to start rethinking what it wants for itself. If you want to be a democratic country, if you want to be seen as a democratic country across the world, then you need to have open society. You need to have civil society working there freely, even when they don't agree with you and even when they challenge you. That is fine. And there's nothing wrong with dissent. And the fact that, and you see this quite often across many countries in the world, that if civil society has a different view, is challenging the government, they're then called opponents of the state. That is incredibly wrong and incredibly, and it's really a pity that sometimes individuals conflate themselves with the state. Individuals are individuals when they're in power, but that doesn't make them the state. And the issue of the state means that dissent is indeed a very significant part of international human rights law. Dissent is permitted, dissent is allowed, and in fact dissent should be encouraged if a society wants to move forward in terms of democracy and wants to move forward as well in terms of independence. The second thing that I would like to talk about very briefly is this question of using other laws to punish people essentially because they're dissenting, whether it's tax evasion or it's other laws or drug trafficking that are put in there. it's often a very significant thing that you see when that is part of the stigmatization of civil society that is independent or critical that happens. And eventually, yes, and I think that this idea of rule by law as opposed to rule of law is a very dangerous trend that should be watched and should be criticized quite strongly. That you don't want to be a society where if you disagree with a state, then you're going to be charged with tax evasion. If you agree with a state, even if you're evading all the taxes in the world, in the country, you will be let free. Or if you're corrupt and you're working with the state, you'll be let free and nothing happens to you. And I think it's important that the government of Azerbaijan and other governments permit and allow the fact that people can disagree, people can challenge, and in fact the questions of corruption that keep coming up can only be dealt with if government is serious by allowing open challenges, open investigations, open scrutiny of all these things that are there. And I think that is important. So I just want to say that really the challenge for Azerbaijan is that for it to move forward in an acceptable manner as a democratic society, it needs to open up the space for civil society, it needs to welcome criticism, it needs to welcome civil society operations, and in fact even for the development of the society, that it will reach a point where it can only start going down because civil society is not engaged in the development process and also trying to deal with issues of corruption and abuse of rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mina. Emin.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador, dear guest. Thanks again for all our partners for organizing this very important event for Azerbaijan. And I want to give very short but tragic story, which is clear, give real pictures what's happening in Azerbaijan. All of you know, and our colleagues says enough, for since from 2014 in Azerbaijan started very difficult period from all critical voices, when all my colleagues arrested with fake criminal charges, prominent human rights defenders arrested with abuse of power charges, tax evasions, and others. I want to also add for lots of non-prominent critical voices arrested with another charges like drug issues, with hooliganism and other provocative charges. But I just want to say very simply about what's happened with our organization again. You know, in 2014, when my colleagues arrested, I decided to protect my life, and thanks again to Swiss government. For Switzerland give me temporary protection. I'm staying 10 months in Swiss embassy, and after long-term and successful negotiation between Azerbaijani government and Swiss government, I'm able to leave the country and continue my work from Switzerland as human rights defenders. But person which has helped me just successfully escape, and one of the persons which has helped to deliver me to the embassy, he killed 1 year later our chairman Rasim Aliyev, which is elected to board director position and factically replaced me when I hid in embassy. And this person just killed 1 year exactly in the same date, at 8 August 2015. Previously in Azerbaijan we have 4 more cases since from 2005 when critical voices shooted or beat and after dying in the hospital. I mean about 4 previous journalist cases. It's Elmar Hüseynov in 2005, Alim Kazimli, Rafik Taghi, and Novruz Ali Mammadov. And last one which is killed, it's my colleague Rasim Aliyev and chairman of IRFS. But government says we are arrested for a person which has beat him. But nobody investigated the reason why this guy killed exactly in the same day when he delivered me to the embassy and saved my life. And now what's happened? Government changed constitution on 26 September, just last year. And when government decided to change constitution, we make a serious awareness campaign for this. Is very bad signal for all of us. And we believe for after these changes, the government start new, more terrible attacks against civil society. And our prognosis, which is we give before, right now it's clear for we are true. And it's issues what's happened with our organization again. My small brother, younger brother, he replaced me in our organization. He worked with us since from 2007. And when we, all of us in our organization board understand for nobody, it's very risky to stay on the chairman of the board position. My brother said, if I'm younger, I don't care. Even since from 2012, I have a travel ban. It's better for I'm elected to this position. And if something happens, this happened with me. Because, and this young guy is very popular, not as like human rights defender, he's very popular journalist in Azerbaijan. He has 350,000 followers in the Facebook. 40% of Facebook followers followed him in the Facebook, and I think in the civil society maybe one of the very well-known people, which is people know him. He prepared everyday materials, he investigated activities from corrupted high-level officials, he make reportages about illegal properties, about money laundering, how our minister buys the villas, which is, and he takes the